Welcome everybody to this fifth episode of our The Policy Frontline podcast here on YouTube. And today we have Agata and Anastasia, so our
Hello.
long-standing
Hello.
members. Welcome, thank you. So today we are here because probably you heard of some events that happened in like 10 days ago, more or less. And we're talking about sort of European phenomenon, we can say, in EU capitals. And I wanted to ask you if you heard, first of all, of something and what were the reactions? Because here in Italy, for example, I saw on social media really wide reactions from both pro and against the European Union. So I don't know. I heard, for example, Berlin, Brussels.
Hello, thanks for having me. Um, I heard a lot. I didn't hear that much about the pro-European protest. You mean the protest on the 15th of March, right?
Yes.
I saw many many information on Instagram, on social media, from people that I follow. That some of them attended some protests in Berlin, for example, and in Brussels. Also, some from Italy, but I didn't see that much about them in like standard media in news. And I was surprised because when I saw this protest in the accounts of my people that I follow, I wanted to learn more about this events from like news, and I couldn't find any information. So I was a bit surprised about it because I live in Vienna, and in Vienna there was no protests, no demonstration as far as I know. But yeah, it was difficult actually to find information what exactly was happening, who was the organizer, and yeah, because on social media from on my accounts from my friends, it looked like quite big protest. But yeah, I couldn't find more information. What about you, Anastasia?
So I think because we are related very much to Europe bubble and all of these advocacy efforts that we are currently doing. So to me, it pops up, but I think it was a very short notice. I don't know how it was for Adriano, also in Italy. But I'm also, as Agata, located in Vienna. So for me, it was a very short notice. And I did see that there will be like various location of this protest. But what I can say is that also we can see currently, except these pro-European demonstrations that happened, we also have seen a lot of big demonstration, right, in Georgia, in Serbia, and now in Turkey, for instance, right. So also with pro-democratic views. So I think it's also catching a lot of attention because it is in another country, it is huge. It is in a countries where we didn't see before such a big protest, because this is something normal, for instance, for European countries to have demonstrations, and this is democracy, yeah, what we where we can actually participate, something a democratic mechanism, what was created by people for people, but something that is not very common in that countries, right?
Yes, so
So
we
I
can say
think it.
that our motto is democracy in action, then. Also, the one that we recall it's from the European Parliament, no? So I wanted to highlight this phenomenon that we were saying, and you were mentioning, Anastasia, lastly, that we are more used to these kind of demonstrations in Europe overall, whether it's about Europe or, I don't know, work rights, human rights, or so on. Also, we saw with the Middle East conflict or even Ukraine-Russia conflict in Europe. So it was really astonishing because I can tell you also, following to what you said about the short notice, also in Italy, it was a bit short notice, this kind of event. Despite we can say that there were like 50,000 people at the end in Rome. So it was probably one of the biggest demonstrations overall for the support of the European institutions in the entire European territory. So it was quite weird not to see much media coverage, and also like seeing, for example, newspapers or TV covering such things, because instead, as also Agata, you mentioned, we had the issue of social media. And I see here that also you want to add something, so please join me in the conversation.
Yeah, I just want to shortly comment on what Anastasiia said about protests in other countries. I believe like this pro-European protests in EU cities had a bit, I want to say wrong timing, but exactly at the same time we had this really huge protest in Serbia with, according to some data, it was even like either 300 or 500,000 people attending, which for Serbia, it's a like very huge protest, and all media attention, when I checked the news, all media attention was there. So it was actually great to know that we had this huge protest in Serbia, that people really are fighting for the like real democracy in their country, but at the same time it was probably less coverage in media in Europe for this protest that, as Anastasiia said, are more maybe like daily basis thing that we have this. We are used to these demonstrations. Exactly.
I think also important to mention that we just had a protest demonstration against a far right in Vienna, so right in February. So it was a huge one. And then now we have also demonstrations, or we had in Romania, right? So it's also something big where the government is facing some challenges. So it's something what is covered very much in Eastern Europe, because like this Romanian protest demonstrations, they were not only in Romania, but they were like near the embassy here in Vienna. So I think there are a lot of things going on. And I believe they are all a good signs of an active democracy and democratic processes in European continent in total. I think I like this signs, I guess, of solidarity and showing the world that there are pro-European values, and European countries are supporting them. This is very important, I think.
Yes, it's really important that we show also like solidarity towards the European cause and the different phenomena taking place now, especially in Eastern Europe. But let's also recall a bit of some issues, unfortunately, that have triggered a bit. Also, that's also why we have had on Saturday, the 15th of March, also this kind of demonstrations of support. Because let's recall that Europe in the recent years, in the last decade, we can also say that was suffering from this rise of populism and sovereignty parties, basically, also supporting patriotism, the so-called phenomenon, basically not believing in the force of the European Union, despite instead the EU, it's well known, and probably we can even all agree on the importance of having a union in this kind of challenging situations. And what is the weirdest for me, it's all the reactions coming from standard citizens, because as also member of an international NGO, so of our NGO here, working on policy and also recommendations in the European Parliament, I see that actually we should have a more engaged approach and try to work not only within the institution but also outside with an outreach. Because I don't know if you saw, but really there were some comments, especially now in security and defense, about this Rearm EU program, that many people actually didn't understand what is this Rearm EU. And I don't know if you can tell us something, but definitely the comments that we also had a small analysis on our website of people saying basically, oh, let's sign all the people that went there and send them to the front line. So I was really astonished and I was shocked because I don't think we were going to declare war on someone. So I don't know if you can also comment and see if there were something also similar, not only in Italy, but I don't know, in Brussels or in on other media contents you saw. But that was for me really alarming because we should be united on this front.
Yeah, now when you were talking about this, I realized one thing that, as you both I think mentioned, that we are in kind of EU bubble and we are very interested in this topic. Like all of us were really waiting for the white paper on the future of the EU security, like checking when this will be published. But when I talked about it with people outside of the bubble, they have no idea. Like really, they have no idea that such a important document was published as a new strategy for Europe was published. And also when you check media, both in Austria and also in Poland, there were some, of course, information about it, but not that much as you would expect. And I believe that there is always this problem that we have in the EU, unfortunately, with communication. Somehow this information is not reaching the citizens, or only like something super general that now the European Union will arm itself, but without explanation. So I believe this is still the problem.
So I completely agree with both of you, and I think it's a super interesting phenomenon. And as Agata said, this is one of the main problems. And really, when you're working with MPs and the groups, visitors groups are coming to the European Parliament, one of the main questions or the first question is like, "Oh, why don't we hear about your work? And what are you doing here as an MP? Is there anything related to Austria or whatever country?" Yeah. So there is a huge gap. And it's interesting because you can see that still some MEPs are trying to cover this gap, yeah, with information. They do social media and they do newsletters, but it's somehow not interlinked, right? Because people care more about national politics and they understand it more than European politics. And then when they are not interested, they are just not interested. They skip it because they think it's not that related as a national one. But something what we are missing, and the message that we need to spread more and more, is that the European politics is actually influencing all national governments. So it's something very important, and that people don't have this mindset, right? So this is the first thing. And the second thing, but there is no information, as you said, there is disinformation or misinformation. This is something what a populist party love to use. If there is no information, no people talking about it, because it's a very fragile topic, right? Many parties avoiding this kind of topics, not to get in trouble, not to be asked some questions that can manipulate, yeah, their answers or cut the answers out of the context. So this is something what appear in today's 21st century, and with what we are living already for a while, there is information war, yeah. So, and we live in this world, and something what we need to adapt and already know about this, be aware of it. And there are a lot of trainings on it, of course, and it's important to follow and to learn how to learn the information.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said because definitely, like now, recently, just to go to inform you also on what happened, like in just a few days after this demonstration in Italy, in particular, with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, that she wanted to basically, as you said, surf the wave basically of disinformation around the European topic in general, because during this demonstration in Rome, in particular, with the 50,000 people, most of them they got, for example, the Manifesto Ventotene, that is basically one of the founding charts of the modern European Union and all the ideals behind our united Europe. And therefore, we also, if you remember, also in Brussels, we have one of the buildings of the European Parliament, the main one, called Altiero Spinelli, because he was one of the main authors of this important manifesto. what happened and why did I mention Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni? Because it is interesting how she used it in an artificial way, like masterly changed the message of that manifesto. Basically, she wanted to deceive the people that were listening in the Italian parliament, so the audience, because it was a televised debate, on the real message from Ventotene, according to her. And the message was even there shocking again. Oh, this today, this word will be used probably a lot of time. Shocking. Why? Because she said, "This is not my Europe. I don't know if it's yours." This was at the end the comment after the small reading of a few extracts of the Manifesto Ventotene that, of course, you need to contextualize, because if you do not contextualize the entire manifesto, of course, you don't understand that. For example, the manifesto was written in the beginning of the 1940s, so in 1941, if I'm not mistaken, that in that period we had still fascism, Nazism, we had also communism, and therefore we didn't even give value to the right of property, because in that manifesto we had still some lines referring to property. And therefore, the right-wing parties, at least in Italy, the so-called patriots, they refer to these extracts of the manifesto to basically fight against it and basically demonstrate their complete disagreement with what happened in Rome just 10 days ago. So this kind of disinformation is really alarming, and if we do not take a concrete action now, I think we risk something even worse. And we saw it also now with our transatlantic relations. So it's extremely important that we do something, because really, otherwise, we cannot make our Europeans. In Italy, we have a proverb. If we did Italy, now let's do the Italians. So, so I think we should do also and take an action also on this regard. I don't know if you.
I think what I can add to this, it's true. Like this is one of the, manipulation tactics to take out of context sentences or whatsoever, half of the sentence, phrase. And I think it's already time for people to realize that these things happen. Even more, we have AI who can talk whatever and convert into whatever. We have really good tools to use to create misinformation, disinformation, fake news, and so on. And it's very, very important to have your laptop, have your phone, get into real official web page and check what is currently going on. Every institution, every European Commission, DG, yes, every MEP to related party, they do have their own position. What you can check, easily find in internet for seconds. You can also, as a citizen, you can participate into committee meetings and other political meetings, what you can watch live stream online. You have this access, you have this possibility, what we didn't have in centuries before, right? So this is something very useful, and this access to information give us a lot of opportunities what we can use. So it's our choice if we choose to take and consume the information that we are given and this misinformation that we that is spread there in this online world, or we are choosing to take responsibilities and actually to check reliable sources and to see what is actually going on, and not just go with a, so to say, wrong flow, right? So this is our responsibility as citizens, and we do have rights, but we don't forget that we do have responsibilities. We have right to vote, but we are responsible for whom we are voting, and this is very important to have this self-consciousness. I think it's about basics, human being values.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you both said about disinformation and misinformation and a lot of manipulation. And yeah, I also agree this is our as citizens' responsibilities. I just feel it's a lot of sometimes it can be difficult for many citizens to really get informed, especially that nowadays many people work a lot, they have families, so in many situations it's difficult to find enough time to access this information, and we need to think how it's the what can be the ways to make this to make this more accessible, because also I can imagine that many of this information on the official website are written in a language that for some people can be difficult to understand, and especially if media don't cover all of these topics enough. Like many people want to check official website, and I believe this is the problem we also need to approach as citizens, but also as NGO to create some information, to create some coverage that can be more accessible for more people.
We are also happy if our listeners, they have questions, they are not sure about some information. We are happy if they come to us and ask their questions, and we give them reliable sources and links to check and explain how do we do it. It's not complicated. It's not something that you need to learn at university. It is very easy, very accessible, and we are happy to do it. Of course, you need time for it. Yeah,
Yeah,
fake
but that's
news are easy
just
to
five
catch.
minutes. Just 5 minutes, no? It's not that taking time.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to start to make this habit of checking European news and European information. And I think when you start, it will be easier with each day, because then you will also start learning the terms, the topics, and then it will be easier.
Let's also make a sort of acknowledgement, however. Let's also see from their side, because for us it's easy as like, let's say, young professionals and like people interested in the European Union affairs. But let's also say that probably there is the majority of news media and news outlets overall, both TV, web, and paper, that they don't really cover European matters as a European Union, as they treat officially national politics. We are still lacking probably this, and this is the next step that probably EU media should make, because as of now, how many do we have of news media outlets covering EU affairs from a general perspective and not with a national viewpoint? I think we can count probably just a couple of them, no? And yeah, basically it's a difficult thing, but we should try, definitely, as you were saying. And therefore, we can say basically you anticipated also my last question, basically, on what we can do not only from NGO but also from our seeing private citizen perspective, because definitely it's about language, it's about also the responsibility, and also about the courage of discussing of these things with openly with everyone as we can, because this is a sort of taking the responsibility for the cause, like of the future, as you have it with, I don't know, with your family members or for your education. This is also for the future. If we want to live in a better Europe, probably everything starts also from how we get the information and how we react to the manipulation efforts of these parties. So, thank you very much, Anastasia and Agata, and it was really interesting this conversation, this short conversation on what happened on like 2 weeks weekends ago, basically. And for you instead, if you have any questions, please follow us and ask us through our social media, and we will then join with another episode here on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.